Since the start of the year, I've been making granny squares. If you're on Patreon, you'll know all about it. But essentially on January 1st, 2024, I set my goal of crocheting 100 granny squares in 100 days. Back when I started this project, I had no particular goal in mind other than to just gain some experience crocheting different styles of granny squares, because granny squares has been a niche of crochet that I've kind of neglected, and I would like to change that. So considering we've just passed the halfway point of this challenge, I think it's time I start considering what it is I'm going to do with all these bloody squares. And because I've been banned from crochet for a little while, medical nonsense, but I thought I would take this opportunity to share with you all some cool free granny square patterns I found that I would like to either make outright or at the very least use as inspiration to create my own pieces. To make things simpler, I've divided these patterns up into 5 categories: clothing, hats, bags, accessories, and miscellaneous. There will be timestamps and chapters down in the description, so if you would like to jump to a specific section, you can do that. So the first section we're going to look at is clothing. The thing I've come to really appreciate about granny squares is their versatility. It is incredible what you can do by just combining squares. Occasionally you might chuck in a triangle or a hexagon, but for the most part, designers out there just chuck a bunch of squares together and come up with the most incredible designs. So when it comes to clothing, you've got what I would call your basic option, and I call it basic just because I see this the most, but that is your cardies and your sweaters. And these are just a couple of examples I found on YouTube. And as I mentioned, the customization options are pretty much limitless. You can use small squares, you can use large squares, you can combine large and small squares, and then you can even add to those squares to further improve your garments. There really is so much you can do with just the basic squares. And it's not just cardigans or sweaters you can make tops in various styles. You can make vests. You can use granny squares to make various styles of dresses as well. Something I am interested in that I came across during my travels through the granny square section of the internet was crochet granny square overalls, or they're also called rompers, but I would call them overalls, which I hadn't seen before, but I thought they looked fantastic, so I would love to attempt to make a pair for myself. And that sort of leads into some other patterns I found, which were shorts and pants. I imagine if you made a pair of granny square shorts, it would be fairly simple to then turn those shorts into overalls by sort of just adding a big granny square at the top here. That is one possible way I would attempt that. Another clothing option is skirts, and from what I've seen, I think a basic skirt would be a good beginner project because it looks like you're essentially just making a tube. So you make a tube, add a little bit of ribbing, and done. You have yourself a skirt. Of course, like with all the rest of these granny square pattern options, you can increase the difficulty, you can make more complex pieces, but if you're just starting out, I think a basic skirt might be a good way to go. I'm probably not going to go with that this time around just because I don't wear skirts all that often. I've made one so far, my watermelon skirt, and it's a funky design, which I really like. I just don't get much use out of it. In fact, I think my nieces have worn it more than I do because they like to play dress up with it. And the final thing I have listed in my granny square clothing section is a poncho. This is again something that I would not wear. I don't think I have ever used a poncho in my life, but that is not necessarily true for everyone else out there, so I thought I would include it on this list anyway for anyone who is looking for their own ideas for granny square patterns. Moving on to the next category, we have hats. I was actually surprised how many different styles of hats there were that you could make from granny squares. I can't say I've spent much time considering how you would construct a hat out of squares, but I was still surprised. There were more options than I thought there would be. The first hat I've got on my list is, I would call it a classic, just because I've probably seen this most frequently in my search for granny square hats, and that is the bucket hat. Not a style that really speaks to me, but again, I'm not making this video just for myself, so there are plenty of other people out there who may want a bucket hat. We also have the option for a beanie. I thought this was really cute with the cat ears. This is something, even though I'm not really a hat person, this is something that I might wear during winter just because of the cat ears. I've got to be honest, it's the cat ears that do it for me. They're really cute. Going a bit old school with the third one, and that is a bonnet. Again, not to my particular taste, but this could be used in some sort of, I don't know, dress up cosplay sense, or hell, maybe you're just someone who would enjoy wearing a bonnet. You do you. Lastly on my list of hats, I have a skuddy, which is a combination scarf hoodie. I like the idea of this in theory. Do I think I would actually wear it? No, but I still really like the designs that I saw in this video. That might be a project I put in the maybe pile. Moving on to category 3, the first two items I have on my list are quite similar. I have slippers and another one that's called slippers, but I would call them more sort of like elf shoes, just to differentiate between the two. These patterns intrigued me. I would like to attempt to make a pair. The issue is I don't know if I would actually be able to wear them, because with my chronic pain condition, specifically my right leg and foot, they're extremely touch sensitive. Like, I only have a couple of pairs of shoes and a couple of pairs of pants that I can actually wear that don't constantly trigger pain flares. So if I were to make shoes or slippers or socks, I would have to be very particular about the kind of yarn I used, as well as like how tight I made it, that sort of thing. I like the idea. I think you could make some really cool shoes, but I would be hesitant to do it myself just because I don't want to trigger a pain flare. That's never fun. Next on the list, we have another one which I would like to do in theory. Don't know how it would work out in practice, but that is thigh-high socks. Moving on down the list, we have gloves. After that, we have a bandana pattern. Now, would I wear this personally? Probably not. However, would I make this for my dog? Absolutely. Next up on the list, we have a scarf, and the pattern I picked was basically just sewing a long line of squares together, keeping it nice and simple. After that, we have a balaclava. This is another one of those things where I probably wouldn't get much use out of it if I made it myself, but I think it's an interesting project. Moving on down the list, we have a headband. This might be a good one to add to the list. I think you could really dig into the customization for the headbands and make something that would really suit your own personal tastes. That could be fun. And then the final pattern I have in the accessories category is boot cuffs. I think these just looked really pretty. I don't think I'd be able to use them myself because I can't wear boots, but I did like the way they look. And as I've mentioned before, it may appeal to somebody else out there, so I'm including it on the list. And on to category 4, which is bags. I really like the design of some of these. You can keep it super simple with just like a basic tote, but then you can do something a little bit more difficult like a messenger bag or even a backpack. I would like to attempt either a messenger bag or a backpack. I think they'd be really interesting projects to make. So they're going to go in the maybe category at the moment. Of course, beyond bags, you've also got options to make things like purses, pouches, laptop covers, iPad covers, and the last one on the bag list, which I thought was really cute, was a bottle holder. And our final category today is miscellaneous. This is all the random patterns I found that didn't quite fit in with any of the other categories. First up on the list, pet sweater. I think these look adorable. I just don't think I'm going to be able to get one on my dogs or even my cats for that matter. In fact, I'd probably lose a finger if I try to put this on one of my cats. Next up, we have amigurumi made from squares. I just selected this basic chicken pattern. I thought it was adorable, so I wanted to include it. And then after that, if you're a little bit concerned that you've decked yourself out, your pets out in all this cool granny square gear, but you think your house is feeling a little bit lonely? Do not worry, there are plenty of home decor items you can crochet using granny squares. You can crochet a pillow, you can crochet a footrest. A blanket is always a popular option when it comes to granny squares, but you can take the home decor even further than that. You can make a granny square plant holder or a granny square basket. You know, a yarn basket to hold all of your other yarn. Now that I think about it, maybe I should have just made home decor its own category. There was probably enough patterns to do that. Too late now. Next on the list, we have an apron. To be honest, I don't know if I'd want to use this if I actually made it, because it looks too cute to wear. I wouldn't want to get it all covered in disgusting food debris. So if I made one, it'd probably just sit as decoration in like my kitchen. Next up, it looks like we're diving back into the home decor. So perhaps I should have made this its own category, but we have some wall hangings and wall art. I think you could get really creative with this. And my first thought was this would be a good scrap yarn project. Continuing on down the list, we have a book cover for all you bibliophiles out there. After that, we have a cup warmer. I would be scared of spilling my tea on this if I made one. Then we have another one for what should have been the home decor category, and that is a lampshade. And to finish off, there is one that I am probably going to make just because I use this item pretty much constantly during winter, and that is a hot water bottle cover. And with that, we are finished with the granny square pattern list. If you have any additional ideas for items you can make with granny squares, please leave those down in the comments. I want to amass as many different ideas as I can to get a feel for what I can make with my own granny squares when they're complete. Before we finish up here today though, it is time for... Today's featured creator is Duck Crochet, and she says, I learned to crochet when I was 5 or 6. I'm not entirely sure when exactly, just that it was before I could read on my own, since my grandma had to help me read the how-to book that I learned from. I've been working on learning/mastering all the other crafts that I'm interested in, like knitting, spinning, sewing, etc. Crafting has always been something that helps me cope with my chronic health issues, as it is a great outlet for creativity, but also lets me do something worthwhile when I don't have the energy for anything else. Back in September, I opened an Etsy shop selling amigurumi plushies and patterns inspired by video games and other things I find interesting. It really is amazing how many of us use crafting and crochet to help deal with our chronic health issues and pain and things like that. I mean, it's not great that we have those issues. It's great that we have you know what I mean. You know what I mean. But please go and check out all of Duck Crochet's links down in the description. Give them a follow, all that good social media stuff. If you would like to participate in the hookup for yourself, there is a link to a Google form down in the description, so check that out. Thank you for watching today's video. Again, if you have any granny square pattern ideas of your own, drop them down in the comments. Like the video if you enjoyed it, share it if you think it's worth sharing, and I will see you all next week with another video.